21-year-old Holly Ottenstreier and her father, Dennis Ottenstreier, for fines and legal fees resulting from Holly's wild parties.
Order. All rise.
That's case number 304 on the calendar in the matter of Irani versus Ottenstreier. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Miss Irani, you had a condo that you were renting.
Yes.
And you rented that condo to Mr. Ottenstreier's daughter, who is under 21, and he co-signed the lease for her. Is that right?
Correct.
Do you live in the same town?
Yes.
Why wasn't your daughter living home?
Well, she just moved out.
That's not an answer. I know she moved out. That's something that's clear to me,
Right.
Mr. Ottenstreier.
Just to be on her own. She had her job, and she was working, and she wanted to have a place of her own.
And you thought that that was a good idea?
Yes.
And you trusted her?
Right.
So you trusted her to act as a responsible adult?
Right.
Clearly, she did not do that.
Correct.
Because what happened was she violated the rules of the condo. She had a pet, which she wasn't allowed to do. Correct?
Yes.
She threw noisy parties, and there were complaints on at least 4 occasions. And ultimately, they were either going to terminate her proprietary lease on the condo, unless she got rid of your daughter, but you moved out.
Yes.
Your father gave her an extra month's rent and said goodbye. Unfortunately, because of your actions, Miss Irani was charged money for violating the noise ordinances of the condo. She tried to fight them. Your tenancy ended up costing her how much?
Okay, I paid $942.50 for my attorney, and then there is a paper for all the details of all the charges, which
I'd like to
is
see it.
$4,921.
Okay, so that's what Miss Irani had to pay as a result of dog fines, police being called to the house for loud noises and parties, because you, Mr. Ottenstreier, had full confidence in your daughter's ability to live on her own, act responsibly, and you were wrong. Your defense is, that wasn't in my contract.
Correct.
Convince me better, sir.
Well, in the contract itself, there is no statement of the $400 fine for police calls. There is a part that says about noise, that type of thing. That's not specified in there.
What does it say about noise, that you're not allowed to make noise?
Well, it says be quiet in the hall and this type of thing, keep your stereos down. And then it says see attachment. There's no attachment.
Did you ask about the attachment?
No.
What do you do for a living?
Optometrist.
Do you have your own business?
Yes.
Do you rent space, or do you own the building where you have your...
Now we rent.
When you signed a lease, did you have a lawyer?
Yes.
So you do know about lawyers.
Yes.
And if something says see attachment and there's no attachment, what do you do?
Well, to me, it's void. I mean, if it's not in there...
I didn't ask you what it means.
Oh.
I said, what do you do when it says see attached? You say, where is the attachment?
I looked for attachment, didn't see it.
So why didn't you call her?
I assumed that she wasn't concerned about it, I guess. She
I'm
didn't put it in the
concerned
contract.
about it.
Yeah.
What's next, Mr. Ottenstreier?
Well, the next thing is that we renewed the lease. At the renewal of the lease, she never said anything about us owing money, and there were 3 police calls before that.
When did you renew the lease?
On 6/20/06, a year after, and there were 3 police calls before that.
Let me ask you a question. Had you been contacted about those 3 police calls?
I still have never received a bill.
Did your daughter tell you that there were 3 police calls?
She called me each time after the police were called.
That's not my question. I said, did your daughter tell you about the 3 police calls?
Yes.
What did she tell you?
Told me that she had a party and that there were police calls. The police were called and they ticketed her.
What did you say to her?
Don't have any more parties. Quit having the parties.
Just a second. Did you say to her after the first time, don't have any more parties?
Sure.
Did you say it to her after the second time?
Sure.
Did you say it to her after the third time?
Yes.
And when you renewed the lease, did you co-sign the lease despite the fact that she had disobeyed your instructions?
Yes.
Now it would seem to me, Mr. Ottenstreier, that you would not be as trusting and as confident in your daughter to do the right thing. So why would you co-sign the lease for her?
Well, there have been 6 months went by with no police calls, and you hope your child is going to take the right road. They make mistakes, but you keep hoping they're going to make the right choice.
And what about the dog, sir?
The dog was there temporarily. It was a friend's dog that stayed there. She didn't have it as a pet.
The dog was there about 3 weeks, not even.
Temporarily is not 3 weeks. Temporarily is when somebody comes over to visit you and they bring their dog. Why should she be out all this money? If I have to make a judgment as to who's got to be out this $5,000, who do you think it's going to be? The person who made the noise or the person who had to pay the fines?
Well, we do have papers that say that she's responsible for, well...
For any fines that are charged to the tenants that she's responsible for.
Of course, as between she and the condo association, she's responsible.
So that's
I'm speaking. The condo association doesn't want to have to go looking for you. I mean, I can't believe that you actually are a professional man. The condo says, as between you, owner, and the board, you, owner, are responsible for the fines. That doesn't prevent her from going after you because you're the one that made the noise. You're the one that brought the dogs in, something that you knew. You knew it when you signed the lease the second time. You knew she had violated the rules. Could have said to her at that time, listen, you violated my trust. You come home. Come home. I'm not co-signing for you. You didn't listen to me the first time. You didn't listen to me the second time. Unless you didn't want her home, sir, because you created too much trouble at home, which is another problem.
Doesn't Gidi, when she renews the lease, didn't she take any responsibility? Should have told us at that time that there were fines at that point?
They probably didn't come after her for those fines until after she left.
Yes, they did.
Before she renewed the lease?
Yes.
When did you renew the lease, sir?
6/20/06.
Actually, it's July 2007.
And when were you first notified of any fine? Because clearly, if you were notified of fine...
I said with her, I said, there is fine. You cannot go on living like this.
When did you have this conversation with her? Before
After
or...
the first call, after the first police call.
Well, the first police call was in 2005.
Yes.
When were you notified by the condo association of the fines, is my question.
Maybe in a month or so.
Month after 2005?
Yes.
Well, then you should not have renewed her lease.
Your Honor, she was telling me that the neighbors are bothering her. The property manager who was telling me that she had loud noise, he was fired,
Ms.
and I
Irani.
did not have the police reports. As soon as I had the police report, I talked to her father.
Ms. Irani, how much were you renting the apartment to her for?
$550 and then $640 later on because she asked for the carpet to be changed.
All of these things were done prior to you executing a new lease. You said July of 2006 is when you entered into a new lease, and there was nothing after that.
Because she was out in September.
No, listen to me very carefully. You have a police call August of 05, another one August of 05. There are dog fines in October of 05. There's another dog fine in November of 05. I don't know what this means, non-eviction. What does that mean?
Because they were asking me to ask her to leave, and she was saying that they are so unfair to her.
Oh, no. That's your problem, Miss Irani. I'm sorry. I was very heavy on them, and rightly so. But you're a grown-up. You should not have renewed their lease.
Your Honor, I have two teenagers that I fully trust. I believed her, and that I did not believe the property manager.
I would have brought eviction proceedings against her immediately. Immediately. They asked you to evict her in October of 2005.
But, Your Honor,
and instead of evicting her, you renewed a lease in July.
Your Honor, I have her email, what she told me. She
I don't
said
care
that
what she told
didn't
you.
do
I don't care if she
anything
told you
wrong.
that the sky was green. Listen to me very carefully.
I believed her.
I don't care whether you believed her. It's not relevant to me. It's not relevant whether you believed her. You were told by your condo association to evict her in 2005. Instead of evicting her, what you did was you renewed her lease in 2006.
But, Your Honor, they never provided any evidence, anything.
They don't have to provide you with evidence, madam.
I asked for.
They don't have to provide you with evidence. She's not going to pay you because it was your responsibility to evict her, not to sign on a new lease. There are other people that live there. They were forced to live with her, making a lot of noise and having loud parties, having a dog when they weren't supposed to. They asked you to evict her. You're the owner of the condo, and you said, no, I'm not going to do it.
Your Honor, I called her parents and I told her mother about the dog. And she said she's just doing it for one weekend and it's going to be gone. She told me that the police came because there was an ambulance. She was not feeling good. She was not doing that.
Listen, they came 5 times. She was a very sick girl. It's your problem and it's your fault. You should never, never have renewed the lease with them. Never.
Your Honor, I received the police report in August, and I talked to her parents right away after I saw the police report. I made an appointment with them. I saw them, and I said, this is how
You should have evicted her, and you didn't. You should have evicted her.
Because I believed her.
Well, that's your problem, madam. I believe that you believed her. I believe that you also like the rent. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I didn't think that she was lying, but I guess I learned my lesson.
I feel sorry for Gidi because she did trust my daughter.
She had underage drinking. She had marijuana in the home.
One of my friends was caught with marijuana in my apartment, and I should have known that he had it, but I didn't.
I trusted her.
One of the tickets was for me and two friends that were sitting on the couch talking, and the police gave me a ticket for that.
I'll be more careful with younger people.
They got to go in the world sometime, and they don't always make the right choices, but if you trust them and you hope eventually they're going to come around, she has.
I don't party anymore.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Benavente versus Lanza. Step forward, please.
21-year-old Monique Benavente is suing the father of her child, 24-year-old Carlos Lanza, for 2 truck payments. Carlos says Monique offered to help him out.
How old are you, Miss Benavente?
21.
How old are you, Mr. Lanza?
24.
2 of you have a child together.
Correct.
How old is that child?
5 months, 2 weeks.
Is that your only child?
Yes, ma'am.
What about you, Mr. Lanza?
Yes.
Your only child?
Excuse me?
What?
He told me he had another son.
You have another child?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever tell you had another child?
I did.
Why?
I thought I had a child with the girl that pregnancy test never came back and said it was mine. So it wasn't, shouldn't have told her something like that because it wasn't irrelevant.
That's not what he told me.
This is all getting too unseemly for me. Mr. Lanza, you're 24 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
You've had maybe 1, possibly 2 out-of-wedlock children. That's enough.
He also told me that he was 27.
Well, he gets confused. In any event, you should have been smart enough to use some birth control so that we wouldn't be here involved. And who is this lady?
My mother.
How many children in your family?
There's 4 altogether.
Are you the oldest, the youngest, or in the middle?
In the middle.
All the other children live home?
No, ma'am.
You think your mother signed on to take care of a new baby?
No.
You live at home?
Yes, ma'am.
Look at it this way. It might keep you young. Then again, it might not. In addition to making a mistake of having a child with him, you gave him 2 truck payments because he was behind in his truck payments, a truck that is in his mother's name. In your mother's name?
Yes, ma'am.
You're very polite. Did you ask her so politely when you needed the truck payments?
I got behind. The work was slow, and she was getting a check from her settlement from a car accident she was in a couple years ago, and it was our only vehicle that we had at the time.
That's
And
not true.
I was driving her everywhere, from San Jose to Modesto to her doctor appointments, shopping, all that stuff. And I
Where
had
were you
fallen
living?
behind. Excuse me?
Where were you living?
San Jose?
With her?
Yes.
Just the 2 of you?
No, we were in a cousin's house.
Whose cousin?
My cousin.
And?
And after that, we moved in with my dad because I was working with him, general contractor. And, work was too slow. And she offered to help me pay the truck payments. That way we wouldn't lose the only vehicle that we had. She wasn't working at the time because her back and being pregnant, she couldn't be at a salon for 8-10 hours,
That's not true.
Don't interrupt him again. How long did you live together where you supported her?
Maybe 9 months.
How long did you live together when you were not working, Miss Benavente?
Around 9 months, off and on.
And he was supporting you?
No, ma'am. I worked, I did hair, and I paid some of our bills. I paid for a lot of our food, and I did support him in finding a job, paying his gas money that he would use for other things that I found out later.
And what did he pay for?
He paid for some of what I just said. He paid for some of the food, some of the Macy's
What
bills.
did you pay for, Mr. Lanza?
Actually, I got her the phone. It was a T-Mobile phone. I was paying the monthly payments. I bought her food, I bought her clothes, I bought her shoes. Anything she needed, I got it. When I was working in a contract, I would actually leave work.
Doesn't anybody pay rent?
Yeah, I was paying rent, of course.
Where were you paying the rent?
I was paying my cousin $500 a month.
Is that right?
No, we got kicked out of his cousins because he wasn't paying rent.
I did pay. The whole situation was that we were there for almost 4 months. On the 3rd month, I spoke to my cousin, look, man, my work has slowed down. I could give you $250 now and then $250 towards the end of the month. He said, well, you know what? I'm behind too. I just lost my job, so you're gonna have to do something. I said, well, I don't want to owe you money. So I told him, you know what? We could just leave. I'll just go and...
I got it. Now, Ms. Benavente, why don't you tell me how it came about that you made these 2 truck payments? You were pregnant.
I was pregnant.
And you only had 1 car at the time.
No, that's not true.
Oh, yes, it is.
Okay, fine.
And you had 1 car at the time. And he was driving you to and from your medical appointments?
Sometimes.
Listen, unless you're stuck in his cousin's house or in his father's house, then wherever you had to go, somebody was taking you.
I was stuck there. My mom would pick me up. He would drop me off at my mom's house, and she would take me to my appointments, and
Fine.
sometimes he would meet us
So he would
there.
drop you off at your mother's house. I mean, at first you lied to me and said to me that you had 2 cars. Now you're telling me that he would drop you off at your mother's house so she could take you to the appointments. Let me hear about the 2 truck payments, Miss Benavente.
Okay, so he couldn't hold a job, and he asked me to borrow them. He agreed to pay me back, and I believed him.
No. Tell me what he said to you. Where were you? Where was he? Tell me about it.
We were at his dad's house, and he asked me, he said, look, I can't work unless I have a car. It's going to get repossessed. My mom's credit's going to get ruined. Can you please help me out? And he said, I promise I will pay you back when I get a job. When he got a job, he never paid me back.
Did you tell you would pay her back?
No, ma'am. The whole thing about us living together means, I mean, I would think when you...
No, don't tell me what you think. Tell me
anyways,
what was said.
I need these truck payments because I'm now we're going to lose the only vehicle. So she said, fine. We made the payments and everything was fine.
In what month did you make the payments?
It was either late December, early January.
And when did the 2 of you separate?
June.
In June?
Yes, ma'am.
Between January and June, did he pay for the truck?
He didn't pay me anything.
And you lived together?
Yes.
And it was after you separated that you sued him, is that right?
Yes, but I continuously asked him to please pay me back.
You were living together as a couple, madam, at the time that he made these 2 truck payments. He was paying rent, he was paying bills, and I assume that you were working marginally before your baby was born, if at all, at least in the last 3 months. Somebody had to support you. Somebody had to be paying the bills. That was not you, and it was not your mother. And I'm quick to note that you and the defendant were not living with your mother, but you were living with the defendant in his cousin's house or in his father's house. Put your hand down. You weren't there. And it doesn't make sense to me that living in that kind of situation, expecting a baby, and living as a couple, he would say to you, could you loan me this money and I will pay you back, when he was in fact supporting you. The case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He was cheating on me, and he stole money from our son's piggy bank, about $300 to $500.
I put money in that piggy bank.
I walked in on him stealing it. His hands were like this.